Look at all these happy people in here. Rolling in late as usual. I know, but whatever. Hey, boss's prerogative. So one of these happy people's getting their nipples stabbed, and hopefully they'll let me film it. Welcome to the Modified World. It's a weekly web show about body modification. People do it, people get it. Why it matters. I'm your host. I'm JC Potts, senior piercer at Pangea Piercing in beautiful Ann Arbor, Michigan. Purvey internet wackiness. This week, well, I had a situation kind of like what I face myself. I have some of the tiniest nipples you've ever seen, and had a happy client in a similar boat with me. Tiny nipples. So, of course, that has considerations. Well, so this is a good example right now of how to be able to work on people's tiny nipples. If you notice, a lot of males, that's us, have small nipples, really tiny ones. Almost, you could say they're almost worthless, because we're not designed to feed babies. So I guess they kind of are. But they're great to adorn, and some people like them played with a little bit. So that's okay too. But there are important considerations when it comes to piercing tiny nipples. Go ahead and stand on up for me. Now, typically nipple piercings, you want to go right through the actual middle of the nipple itself. But on somebody with such tiny little ones, going through the nipple itself would destroy a lot of tissue, so we don't want to do that. We want to kind of go down a little bit at the last concentric ring. If you notice, they kind of have like tree trunk rings around them. And so you kind of go down to the last one of those tree trunk rings, and that's kind of where, that's your actual depth that you want to do. So on my friend right here, be right about there, and right about there. Now typically a lot of folks too are going to wind up wanting to draw little lines and whatnot to help keep themselves straight. I have been doing this for a little bit, so I just make dots. You might consider, if you're what we call baby piercers, you might want to consider drawing the lines. And after that, we'll slap a little sterile saline solution on there. It's going to feel amazing. We got this happy taper that even screws into the jewelry so that it fits in the back of the magic tool. We're able to, like it just goes right in, no problem. I ain't got lube because I've been told lube makes it all better. Anyway, now that I've creeped out half the audience, go ahead and lay on back for me. Creepiness is just yet another service I provide. Dear Lord. All right, brother, we're looking pretty good over here, so whenever you're ready, good deep breath in and out. There you go. Yeah, it wakes you up. Yeah. That saline cools you down, though.
It wasn't as bad as I thought. I thought it was pretty painful.
Strangely enough, sometimes a little bit slower hurts less than a little bit faster. Everybody always says they want it fast, but what they mean is they don't want it to hurt. And I don't blame them. I am not one of these guys that's like, oh, yeah, let's see how far we can push our limits. No. I know you can already push your limits really far. I don't want to do that. I want to try to make everybody sparkly and happy. Lube, sliding that guy on through a little smoother and easier than it would if it was just dry. Going in dry. Like, oh. Get that ball screwed on the end for that sweet industrial strength. Oh, that looks so good. Oh my God. Second verse, same as the first. A little bit louder and a little bit worse. Gonna press with the back a little bit. Line up for real now. Alright, brother, deep breath in and out. There you go. Keep the saline on there to cool you off. Oh my God. Whew. I never like to tell them, but number 2 always kind of hurts a little bit more. There we go. that ball screwed on there. Yeah! How you feeling?
Pretty good.
Awesome sauce. You want to take a look at these happy guys? Woo!
Thank you, sir.
Look at that. They should work out pretty well. I don't see why not. Mine did. You know, I've done a lot of others very similar. It's just, of course, like I say, you know, if you're going to do that and you're in that type of situation, you don't want to lose a bunch of nipple tissue by actually, you need to have roughly about as much tissue all the way around the jewelry as you actually have jewelry. So if it's like, you know, if you're doing something 2 millimeters thick, you need to have at least 6 millimeters of nipple to even make that worthwhile. Seems logical, but, you know, sometimes you have to explain it. And with that, logical, but sometimes you have to explain it. Well, I've already said that I like to avoid getting into the politics on this show. You poor folks have been subjected to so much, you know, just utter propaganda being thrown at you from every side. You know, it gets hard to even understand what's actually going on in the world. And it is kind of a tough one. I wish I could, you know, explain to y'all a little bit better as to why all this is happening and stuff. I think it's pretty obvious, though, that, well, people are going to, both individually and in groups, according to their own choosing, they're going to, and I mean they are going to, do what they can to try to gain access to things and stuff and keep themselves keep themselves safe, do what they think is going to do what they can to keep themselves safe. Most folks are trying to avoid conflict. Most folks really trying to avoid embarrassment. These are kind of universal things. I always look at people and remember that even if they stand against me, or it would seem that they're standing against me, it's generally nothing personal. It's just people are trying to look out for themselves, you know? And if you got folks that literally, if they feel threatened, they're going to react. Doesn't matter, you know, what you look like, what body you're in, any of that type of stuff. These are universal things. And so you're seeing a lot of that. You see people who feel threatened and they're reacting. You know, I'm sorry that it's that way, but it's that way. But something that helps me understand it all is knowing that, you know, a lot of people are just really scared. And they're going to do what they can to try to, you know, secure for themselves and for their families access to things and stuff and safety. This is just kind of natural. Everybody's going to do it. But something to remember, and I'm not going to go into too much on this because I don't want this happening to me. If somebody strays too far away from what the acceptable message is on your various social media enterprises like Facebook or Twitter or something like that, if you go too far off of message, well, they'll basically shut you down. They'll either shut you down or they make it to where it's really harder for you to get views and make it worthwhile. You know, trust me, I've seen what happens if you make the big boys angry, and so you don't do that. And that affects a lot of what you're seeing and hearing out there. Once again, people like me who've got multiple years invested and lots of time and money invested into their various, you know, pages or social media streams, it's a little scary to get out and say too much because you run the risk of putting yourself in the crosshairs. And honestly, that doesn't matter if you're right wing, left wing, whatever, man. It's like you just having an opinion seems like it puts you in a bit of a pickle sometimes. That said, though, I do remember that the people who own and control these social media empires, they're just people too. And once again, they're just doing what they can to make sure, you know, they're doing what they think is going to keep themselves safe and happy and protected and not being embarrassed and having access to things and stuff. Once again, it's nothing personal. So, seems like a bit of a disjointed rant and might have taken a little bit to go around, but I hope you understand at the very least. Helps me get through the day at least. And that was my show this week. Hope you learned something, possibly even somewhat entertained. If I'm completely stupid and you didn't get it or anything like that, let's hash it out on social media. Go ahead, hit me up on Twitter or leave comments in the section down below or what have you. I love sparking conversations. So, stop back by next time for another episode of The Modified World.